Okay. Val, is it working? Okay. Done. I know. I'm like, it's so ironic to me that I run a tech business. Like, I don't even know how that happened. Like, I'm like, how do
It's a
I?
sign of a good founder because you've clearly hired great people so that you don't have to keep doing the things and bottlenecking your own company.
Oh my God. If it was up to me, there would be no company. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know how it happened. Like, my team delivers work, and I'm like, how did you do that?
It's amazing.
I know. It's so funny. I'm like, I don't know. People who know me, they're like, what? Like, what do you do? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. Okay. Let's see if it is actually working. I don't know. Okay. I have a friend of mine and she does a lot of work with like LinkedIn lives and live streaming and stuff. And I'm like, coach me, coach me. She coached me. And so hopefully it should work. Yes. Yay. Okay. So audience sync is working. Okay. Let me just see here. So now, how do I? Okay. Nicole, if you're watching this, you're probably very shocked. This is actually working. Okay. Public chat. Let's just see here. Okay. Yay, Nicole! Yay! Okay, oh my God, first one. Thanks for being here, Nicole.
Yay,
so I have my friend Nicole, who is an awesome live streamer from Germany, and she's here for moral support. So if I start crying because tech goes wrong, she is here. So you're both here.
You got back up. You're good.
I got the squad. Aw, thank you. She's in the chat if you. Anyway, yeah. Christine's amazing. All right. We got some tech working. Let's get going. Christine, I'm so excited that you are here.
Likewise, Natasha.
When I first met you, I was like psychotherapist, exited founder, and now business coach. I'm like, you were like the trifecta.
I've heard that a few times. I definitely did not set out to do that intentionally.
You're the trifecta of female founder awesomeness. Like, I'm just like, yeah, like, because most women don't exit. You've done that. Like most women, like, and then the fact, like, because I know you and I were chatting when we first met, like the whole component of mindset versus entrepreneurship, like it's a hand-in-hand thing. Like it's not one or the other. Like people talk about how, oh yeah, business, it's like the money and the mechanics. And I'm like, yes, and you do that too. But so much of it comes out of who you are and how you think, right? Which is what we want to talk about today. So I'm going to just find my notes now that tech situation is like not going to stress me out. So I know, right? It's like 5 times the charm. So, all right. Those of you who do not know Christine, she is an entrepreneur, former psychotherapist, wife, mom of 2, 6 and 2, very busy mom, living in Maine. She is the founder of Am I saying this right? Hakola, or is it Hakola? How do you pronounce it? Hakola. I love that. Hakola Horizons. I should have asked you before. Where she helps women service providers build businesses that actually work. After building and selling Build Your Private Practice, a company that supported hundreds of Canadian therapists, thank you for the Canadian support, Christine became obsessed with helping founders stop solving the wrong problem and start making smarter, more sustainable business decisions. Today, she works with therapists, coaches, consultants, clinical founders, and fractional leaders to navigate the 3 stages of growth: client acquisition, sustainability, and leadership. Known for her belief that most founders have a diagnosis problem, not a discipline problem, she blends psychology, business strategy, systems thinking, and a healthy skepticism of hustle culture to help women grow without burning out. Oh my God, I cannot wait for today. While she is not talking about bottlenecks, business models, and AI, you'll find her spending time with her wife, Leah, and their 2 young kids, swimming in Maine lakes, tackling an endless list of house projects. I totally relate to that. Planning the family's next adventure, or dreaming about which corner of the world they'd like to explore next. That sounds like an awesome life. Like, I love that. So
it's really good when you read it.
I know, when you read it like that, right? You're like, I know, but it doesn't include the part about like, where's my backpack and like, where's my shoes? And
yes, and daycare calling. Your kid has a fever.
Oh my gosh, I know, it sounds so pretty, right? Like when we read our bio, we're like, hey, look at me. And life, you're like, not.
We don't put all the lifey life parts in.
I know. There's like, oh my God. I'm like, it's not quite as pretty when you're actually in it. But okay, so we have lots of fun things to talk about. So the way that I do the call is it's more like, as opposed to like podcast interview, I do it more like just kind of like us chatting like about a topic. And so some of the things that, as you know, like I am super, super passionate about female founders. My lens is that so much of it is the psychology. Yes, there's mechanics. Absolutely. There is strategy and there's skill development and capacity, like 100%. But what I really want to talk about today is like that inner game, right? Like that inner game of you coming from the psychotherapy background, you like having worked with like countless people about overcoming blocks to success. And so it's like, when you say, I love that one of the things you said is why smart women keep solving the wrong problem. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So, where do I start?
Take your time, no worries.
I mean, I've been an entrepreneur myself for almost 15 years. So I've watched myself go through this journey and now on my second business and paid a lot of attention to when things were going well and when things weren't. And over the last 10 years, I've had the privilege of watching now thousands of founders and business owners growing and scaling their own businesses. And one of the things I've always been really intrigued by is what creates success and what doesn't. And before I go off on like 10 tangents, tell me your question again so I can stay super focused on
No worries.
you actually asked me.
All good. It's a Friday and it's early. Well, for me, it's early. It's 9. I still have coffee and I just got out of the shower. So we're okay.
No, I'm served, but I have too much in my brain.
Okay. Why smart women keep solving the wrong
problem. That's right. Because they get distracted like I do, right? What I have noticed and what I've recorded in, with metrics and with researching and analyzing my own clients and myself is that as founders, we tend to focus on the things that are familiar or comfortable or even that we like. For example, I've worked with clients, and I'll throw my hat in the ring with this, who really love creating offers. They love offers. How can I serve the people next? What else can I create? I think a lot of folks can resonate. And when things go wrong, it's really easy to look to the thing that we're used to solving or to the thing that we like to solve and think, well, if people aren't buying, it must be my offer. I'm going to recreate my offer. I'm going to do this new thing. I'm going to do this other thing over here.
Yeah.
And there are really only 6 constraints to client acquisition. Okay. And the reality for most business owners that I have worked with is that the reason they're blocked is because they're focused on the wrong constraints. And they're trying to solve the one they're used to solving or the one they like solving instead of the one that they're not aware of or that they actually shy away from because it's not their strongest skill set.
So tell us about that. Like, what are the 6 constraints? Talk us through it.
Yeah. So, I mean, full disclaimer, I didn't make this up. I use my own kind of lingo and nomenclature around it these days due to the system that I've developed. But I certainly can't take credit for, identifying what are the bottlenecks in client acquisition. That's fairly well-known. Well-known information in the marketing and sales world. But the way I conceptualize it and the way I speak about it with my clients is that you've got three foundational constraints, which are your ICP, your offer, and your pricing. You can't really do anything else with that. If you don't know who you're serving, you don't know how you're serving them, and you don't have a price on it, it's really difficult to go to market or do anything else. So those are the 3. And sometimes not having really nailed one of those 3, not being clear about who you serve, not having either a clearly defined offer or really an offer that works, that's enticing to people, or even with the pricing, having underpriced it, overpriced it, or having priced it well, but not feeling confident in the way you convey the pricing. All of those things can get in the way. So those are the first 3 constraints. And the second 3 constraints are lead generation, sales, and follow-up. A lot of folks think that sales and follow-up go together, but they're actually separate. Sales is the motion that happens when we're in that moment of potentially selling a service to somebody. And the follow-up is what happens when the deal hasn't closed, but we have a very warm lead. And a lot of folks lose potential clients and leads right there. And then the lead generation is actually where a lot of folks need to spend time. And what a lot of folks do is that they jump around from strategy to strategy, which actually keeps them stuck. And certain service-based businesses do better utilizing certain strategies over others. So to recap, it's the ICP, the offer, the pricing, lead generation, sales, and follow-up. And actually, interestingly, in that order as well. Yeah. You can't actually solve the problems well out of order.
So when you say smart women keep solving the wrong problem, is it that they're like jumping into the wrong place? Or tell us more about what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, having seen hundreds and now thousands of businesses, it comes in all ways, shapes, and forms. But
Mhm.
when a client of mine is stuck on client acquisition, it almost always comes down to one of those primary constraints. Now, I do have people say, but it's actually I don't have enough time, right? Or there's like a mental block around mindset, and those are very real constraints that need to be fixed. I consider them secondary constraints because
Mhm.
even when we fix that, there's still another constraint getting in the way, which other
Yeah,
leads back to the
I
primary
know.
constraints.
It's like
So
pulling the thread, right? Like, you're never gonna run out of thread, like, it's always
yeah.
gonna
Oh,
find
yes,
something.
always, always. Yeah. And I try to be very careful, when I talk about this stuff that there's no magic bullet, and it's not like you're going to solve the six and then they're fixed forever.
No.
Things crop up,
The economy is gonna change, or AI is gonna come and
exactly.
like upset the whole
Exactly.
thing. So, like, when we talk about, like, solving the wrong problem, like, I loved what you said about women doing what's comfortable, because I definitely
Yeah.
know that I do that for sure.
Oh my gosh, I
Like,
do
when
it
I'm
too.
tired
All the
or I'm,
time.
like, not on my A game, like, I will absolutely do, like, the simplest, most brainless activity that doesn't move the needle, like,
Yeah.
always, right? So, like, what else do you see? Like, what else do you see in terms of women who kind of stay in that comfort zone of what they think the problem is or what they're good at? Like, where do you think that that stuckness
Yeah.
comes from?
Yeah. Like logistically within the constraints, or what's kind of
More
behind
like on a mindset, like, why does, like, because I
gosh,
know
that's
for
a great
me, for
question.
example, just as an example, like, there's certain tasks that I like to do because it's, like,
Yeah.
fun and relaxing, and there's some that I'm, like, scared to do, and I don't wanna do them, and, like so,
Yeah.
like or more overwhelmed by them or, like, afraid to do it, like, so I guess in your background, like, pulling on your background as a
Yeah.
psychotherapist, like, when you see going back to the question of, like, working on the wrong problem, so what do you notice? Like, let's say that there's a woman and she's got a lot of these 6 constraints, like, in the right place, but
Mhm.
still it's not going forward. Like, when you say psychology is part of your coaching, like, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the most common examples I'll see is women who are fixated on lead generation.
Mm,
If they really enjoy networking and meeting new people and creating content and
mhm,
speaking and all the things, creating visibility, generating relationships, which a lot of women do, they over focus on lead generation.
mm,
And how I diagnose a constraint is by the metrics. We can tell by the numbers actually
mhm,
where the issue is. And a lot of times when I have a client in front of me and they say, I'm not getting lead clients, I don't know what's wrong, and I look at their numbers, they do not have a visibility problem. They do not have a lead generation problem. There's
mhm.
actually a lot of activity top of funnel.
Yeah.
But then what'll happen is either they're not getting on sales calls.
Mm,
They're engaged in tons of relationships, tons of conversations, and they're not converting into calls, or they're converting into calls and then they're not selling.
mhm,
And sometimes firstly when we don't know, and then secondarily sometimes because a lot of women dislike sales, in my opinion, mostly because we haven't yet learned how to do them in an authentic way that feels in integrity. We're
mhm,
subconsciously avoiding that. And then we over focus on lead generation,
mhm.
hoping that the more people we get in, it will just turn into sales. But what they're
Yeah.
actually avoiding is the sales conversation. And
Mhm,
sometimes that's actually a follow-up issue, and sometimes it's actually an offer or a
mhm,
pricing issue
yeah.
that comes up on the sales call. But usually when you dive into the nitty-gritty, you can figure out which of the constraints it is.
Mhm. Yeah, no, because I always like to tell this story of I have this friend and she has 1,000,000 followers on TikTok
Yeah,
and makes no money. Like, huge visibility, right? Like,
that is
huge
the perfect
visibility.
example, the perfect example.
Yeah, like, she's an icon. Like, I'm like, "Oh
Mhm,
my god." Like,
mhm.
she gets, like, offers for brand deals from Amazon and, like, big name, right? Anyway, and so well, I shouldn't say big, big name, but, like, big enough that she attracts companies who wanna work with her and stuff. But in terms of selling her own stuff, she doesn't, and she can't bring herself to do it, and she's so traumatized by the idea of selling
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
So, like, in your work now as in the coaching side, consulting side, do you dig into that with women? Like, being like, if you saw that kind of block, be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, there was obviously some sort of trauma here."
Mhm.
Like, just complete resistance, like, people literally DMing her, like, "Send me the thing," and she just won't. Like, she's just like, "I
Yeah.
can't."
Yeah.
Like, what do you do in that case when you notice that with your client? Like
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I will do is gently name it,
yeah.
and depending on the relationship I have with the client, how long I've known them for, how well I know them, um, and sometimes I can be a little more bold or direct in naming the issue. But usually I'll approach that pretty gently and just go, hey, we're looking at your numbers. And we're seeing amazing numbers on lead generation. I know you don't have a problem with your offer. I know you've got clarity on your ICP. Your pricing's good. Right? We're actually getting stuck on sales. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And for me, it's really there's a choice point there. And similarly to when I was a therapist, I can't do someone's work for them. And it's not possible for me to help someone if they're not willing to help themselves.
Yeah.
First. One of my supervisors, when I was a therapist, told me a line. He said, "You should never work harder than your client."
Mm-hmm.
And I really sat with that for a long time, and I still kind of poke around at it and try it on to see how it fits. And for the most part, it has fit very well for me, because anytime I find myself wanting something more for a client than they want it for themselves, we just get stuck. So I always get curious, is this something they actually want to solve? And if it is, we're in the game. And if it's not, that's their choice. And I have so much respect for that, because sometimes the stuff that's getting in the way is just too much for someone. And it's not my call to push them into something or into some place that they're not ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are, that's something that I feel very excited and honored to be able to hold with them.
Mm-hmm. So how do you guide someone, and how do you support someone in that case? Like, let's say they are willing and they want to like overcome it. Like, what do you do in that case? Like I'm just so curious about like how you, as coming from such a strong psychology background, now business, like how do you blend the two? So you've got this woman and she's doing great. She's putting herself out there, like, but she has major, let's say, fear around sales, and she knows, and she needs to, and she wants to fix it. And she just doesn't know like where to even start.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things I want to say right out of the gate. Like, one is baby steps. And two is, I believe there's absolutely a time and place for therapy. And a lot of my clients are very self-aware women. And my experience has been that many times when those things come up, if there really is a deep-seated trauma, under that, I would always recommend therapy. And I don't put on my former therapist hat when I'm coaching. What I do, however, is intentionally hold a safe space to be able to have a discussion around that. And some of my clients have actually ended up going to therapy and getting the support that they need to resolve that on a deeper level, which I think is wonderful. From a coaching perspective, the way I typically approach that is just baby steps. I'm trained in somatic experiencing, method developed by Peter Levine, which is a body-based approach. And so I use that to inform the way I explore these things with my clients. Let's really break it down, because most women, and actually I will say, like, I haven't yet met a woman whose issue was sales. Sales, like the whole thing. Sales is a multi-step process. There's dozens of things involved in that. And usually there's actually only one or two components of it that feel very scary for them, whether it's the ask, whether it's the point in time where they state their pricing. There's usually one or two things in there that feel more overwhelming. So that's what I get into with them. What specifically is it that's scary about sales? Okay, what specifically is it about naming your pricing? Like, where does that come from? What would it look like, to not be afraid of that? What would need to be different? And then finding a safe environment for them to do that in. Many times we start with warm leads, people already in their inner network. It's scary enough to do sales in general. It's really scary when you have no idea who this person is in front of you. So many times I'll have them go back to former clients or former leads, people that they already feel safe with, have a relationship with, and practice. Because many times it's just, firstly, owning what the issue is. Secondly, understanding a way to do it that feels authentic and in line with their core beliefs and values. And thirdly, just finding a safe, simple way to practice that skill without just diving into the deep end.
For sure. No, I totally agree. Like, because that's what I see a lot in my work as well, is in my own life, that there's certain blocks that we carry that once you actually name where it is, like, it's becomes so much more manageable to deal with. Right? Because you're like you said, it could be like, I'm afraid of creating content. Well, maybe you're not afraid of creating content. Maybe your part is just one tiny little piece. And until you're clear on where the gap is, like you said, it can just be overwhelming. And you kind of like throw the baby out with the bathwater when it's really just like, like a little piece, right?
Yeah.
Because in your experience with women, like I know me too, like everyone I know runs a business, like hardworking is not the problem, but like
Absolutely.
where does hard work, where can it actually sometimes make things worse?
Yeah. That's a really great question. One place I see it make things worse is when someone doesn't have clarity about what the actual constraint is, and they're using what I would lovingly refer to as the spaghetti at the wall approach, and they're just working so hard to solve the wrong problem. And unfortunately, that can lead to burnout. It can lead to feelings of failure. It can contribute to imposter syndrome when we're doing everything we know how to do, and sometimes worse, everything we're told to do. If we have a coach who doesn't understand where the real constraint is, and just end up feeling like this is impossible, right? Or there's something wrong with me.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Because I definitely see that too. Like hard work is not usually the variable, right? It's just,
I've never had a lazy client. I try not to use always and never, but I feel like I've said never twice in this, because all the women I've worked with, you don't become an entrepreneur, to
no, you're willing to work. You're willing to work.
They're all incredibly determined, incredibly hardworking.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, it's so interesting to me that, because back to what you're saying about therapy, that I completely agree, like any sort of healing modality, right? Because I see that so often, that because I've been running my own business for 20 years, and it's like, I think about, there's so many times where women just come at the same problem over and over and over and over from like every angle, and then they're like still stuck. And that's definitely the place where, like, if you're a woman listening to this, like that, if you've been trying to come at your problem from all the different angles, and you've had the coaches and the cohorts and all those sorts of things, like, that may be a time to like get some actual like professional help, right? Like with, because what I see sometimes as well is it's not always like a mechanical issue. Like it's like a mindset issue. So it's like, for example, like I go back to my friend who, so she, again, 1 million followers on TikTok, and she works hard. Like her content is beautiful. Like she is just like on it, and it looks fantastic. And it's like, she comes from a really strict religious background, and like the whole poverty was like holier, right? Like subconsciously, like I know her, and I know that that's what she thinks, like to actually monetize, a gift that, God has given her is like not cool, like something like that. Right. And it's just kind of like, and until, as women, like we can work as hard as we want, but if we keep running up against the same walls, it's like, okay, sometimes we need to like, stop, think, debug, right? Like, do you see that sometimes in your clients? Like, how do you actually encourage women? Like, hey, let's just stop working hard for a minute and let's just think this through.
Yeah. Well, when we're not seeing the metrics move, right? Or when we feel like we're guessing, what tells me we're on track is that when we make a change to the motion, we've identified the constraint and we make a change around it, that we see some sort of tangible difference in the metrics, or we're getting feedback that it's either working better or working worse. Right? When we're making changes and just kind of, right, and we don't actually know where we're expecting to see the results of that change, or there's no way to measure the change, to me, that's problematic. And I would be concerned that that's a waste of time for somebody who isn't clear on what is the problem they're solving and doesn't have a measurable way to determine how well any future changes are working or not.
Yeah. And do you normally do that through like your 6 constraint metric, or?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Cause I just find like, because I agree, like there's certain, like I said in the beginning, like there's certain skills absolutely you need to do as an entrepreneur. But I also, I can never like say enough to people that running a business is so much of a mental game. Like it's not just like, if I had to like tell people who want to run a business, whatever, I'm like, you can learn the mechanics, you can learn the money, you can learn all of that. But that mental game of the resilience, the tenacity, the creativity, the risk, the like being willing to take a risk, without not enough data most of the time and things like that. Like there are huge components of entrepreneurship that are going to like push you. And I think I know in my world, like a lot of all my colleagues and peers and friends run businesses. Like I don't think I know very many people who have a job, but it's like, we have this idea that like, okay, building a business should feel good, it should feel empowering and fun and all these things. I know, right? It's like,
I didn't get that memo.
I didn't get that memo either. But it's just kind of like, they think like, okay, like it should be joyful and fun and in the flow, and I should be like empowered, and I should feel like I'm contributing, and I'm like, calling my own shots and stuff. But it's like, what the part that I say a lot is like moving outside that comfort zone, moving into something new, learning new skills, learning new ways of thinking, facing your demons. Like none of that feels good. Like none of it feels good. And so, but I like to kind of explain to women like, okay, when you're on those edges of comfort zone into new, it's like those baby steps, like you said, but knowing that it's never going to feel, it's probably not going to feel good as you're doing this, unless you learn how to associate that panic with good.
Right, I'm on the verge of the next breakthrough.
Oh my God.
So well said, Natasha. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Because it's just like, I think we think like, I know for me, I mean, this is kind of a tangent, but I know for me, for oh my God, like decades, I always thought like coming at a business from like a place of like alignment and flow and like in my energy and my highest self and all of this like new age manifestation. And I think it like really hurt me as an entrepreneur. Like, I don't know what your opinion is on that, but I think this whole paradigm of like the energy and the vibe and all of that, it's like, I know for me, when I was building, and I'm like, when it was hard and scary and you need to take chances and learn new skills and try new things. And it's like, I remember feeling like, okay, this is shouldn't feel like this. It shouldn't feel as hard and as scary as it was. Like if it's meant to be, it should feel like good. And I'm like, that is definitely not the case. Like it's always, like I said that to my friend all the time. I'm like, okay, it's going to feel really scary and very hard to like do this, to like face whatever this block is, like with the sales, right? Like it's going to feel very uncomfortable and very overwhelming probably. And it's like, you take it as a baby step, but like you can't fix it and feel great at the same time. I don't know what you think about that. Like, but you can't have one without the other, in my opinion.
I agree entirely. I won't lay claim to know where that sentiment arose, yet I've heard it repeatedly. I was a yoga instructor and lived and breathed the yoga world for over a decade in my 20s and early 30s. And it was rampant there. And I see it also in women's wellness and certain circles, where the rhetoric is that business success is 100% mindset, or that if we were just, fill in the blank, just enough, just better, just like all the things, that somehow we adopt this story that like everything is within our control. And if we were just good enough and all the things would click into place. And on the one hand, I wholeheartedly agree with you that mindset is an incredibly important factor. And many times, if it's not addressed, it is what's going to stagnate you, typically with another constraint underneath. Yet on the flip side, it's never the only issue. There are legitimate skills that need to be learned in building a business. And I'm sure you've seen this as well. All of the clients that I've worked with, and myself included, become entrepreneurs because they're really great practitioners. They're trained in a certain skill set or modality to provide a service to somebody. And the business is actually just something that happens secondarily to wanting to deliver the service on their own terms. And what we, either forget or are not taught in the first place is that building a business is a whole skill set, as comprehensive, sometimes more so, as the service delivery. Yet we're fed this story that we should just know how to do it. If we're aligned enough, it's going to happen. And I just call it as it is. I personally think that's ridiculous.
I know, exactly. Like using your example of a yoga teacher, teaching yoga and running a yoga studio are two totally different skills.
Exactly. That's where I got my start and really noticed all of this. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like, the technician. Right. Like I always joke, like I run a web development agency. I've been doing that for 11 years. I have never built a website. And it's like, and I think it's so ironic how I do what I do. I think people, like I said to you before, like people who know me, they're like, what do you mean? Like, I can't even set up a Bluetooth connection in my car. Like, it's ridiculous. Right. But it's kind of like that idea that, it is a skill issue on every front. like how you think, what you do, like the action you take. It's that whole, all the pieces of the pie, right? Because in your experience like, working with women, being a founder yourself, what is the difference between fear and intuition? Or how do you tell the difference between the two?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways that you could tell the difference, but something that stands out for me is the repetitive cycles. Fear often comes up when we're stuck in a repetitive cycle and we find ourselves doing the same thing over and over and kind of banging our head against the wall. Whereas intuition, many times, where's the hat or the face of like some new insight, like something new, like doing something different, and not in the sense I'm going to create my 10th offer to solve a sales problem. Right? Sometimes it's actually really difficult to discern because on the surface they can look very similarly, but getting stuck in a repetitive cycle that doesn't feel good to me is often related to fear, whereas intuition can often free us from something that we've been stuck in or allow us to see it in a new way. And the other way that I support my clients to discern the difference is just how it feels in their body.
Yep.
I assume that we all feel it a little bit differently, but for me, when I'm afraid and I tune into my body, I'm probably clenching my jaw. My heart rate is probably a little bit faster than it normally is. I'm maybe feeling some anxiety, some tingling, some excess energy that doesn't feel comfortable. Yet when my intuition kicks in, I actually feel the opposite. I feel really, really calm. My heart slows down and my body relaxes, and I feel like I can breathe more deeply. So that's how I tell the difference for myself. And I suspect that everyone has those tells for them, whatever they are.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting because I definitely have like different tells than that. Like,
yeah, what
for
are yours?
me, like for me, fear and intuition both feel scary because I might get a really good idea, but I'm like scared to take action on that idea. But it's like, to me, it's like when I identify, because what I like to do, and I do this with my kids, is like, because I have 3 teenage kids, is like if they're thinking about making a choice, and this is a very rudimentary like practice, but I'm like, look, imagine making choice A. Just like imagine you've made that choice. You are going to go to this university, or you are going to take this job, or you are going to date this person, whatever it is, right? It's like, okay, like how does that feel? Do you feel scared? Like, does this feel scary good or like scary bad?
Yeah.
Like, and if it feels bad, like you start, like you said, you start getting like anxiety comes up and it feels more bad than good. Okay, that's a no. Like that's a no. Like that's like, to me, like maybe it's like muscle testing. I don't know, whatever the pendulum, whatever, right? And then if it's like, and if you're like, okay, I feel scared to go to this university, but it's like excited scared. It's like an excited scared, a good scared. Because I don't know, like personally, like I know for me, if I have to make a choice, that it's like, like that's a very, like one of the things I'm really learning about right now is like mergers and acquisitions. Like I want to acquire like micro agencies. Like I want to move into that. To me, that feels terrifying, but it also feels terrifying, exciting.
Right.
It's terrifying, scary. It's terrifying, exciting. So it's kind of like they both feel scary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think for like for me, I've always had to kind of look beyond the scared, because if I just trusted I feel scared as my first indicator, I'm like, I feel scared for both. Like it doesn't, but it's like, okay, well, which one underneath, or what underneath the choice? Like that's how I discern intuition, is like, okay, like underneath this decision, is there excitement? Is there like enthusiasm? Is there possibility? Or is it the other one, like, like, and is one like an open and one to close? I don't know. That's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, no, I so get it. If I could add on a little context to that, what I'm hearing and how I'm interpreting what you're sharing actually is that the difference between thinking about path A versus path B and how you feel is like, I actually think those are both intuition, right? That you're really leaning into like the built sense of how's this going to be? Because I think our intuition can tell us yes, and our intuition can tell us no. And arguably, fear can actually feel good sometimes. Like for example, going back to our constraint conversation around sales, if someone has actually a sales problem and their issue is actually selling, getting on calls with a warm lead and talking to them and doing the pitch, yet their impulse, I won't say their intuition, but their impulse is to go back and change their offer. right? That actually gets them out of the fear and into something good, right? They're
Yeah.
moving away from the thing that they should actually be going towards
Mhm.
to solve the business problem. And I think that's oftentimes where intuition gets mistaken for like the thing that feels good. I don't
Right.
personally believe it's intuition telling them I need to fix the offer. I think that's habit and
Yeah.
familiarity.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at intuition like I guess I use it the most as a tool when I'm like in a stuck, like when I'm in a moving forward problem. Like
Yeah.
I use this all the time with like in the agency with clients. Like we're scoping this one project right now and I'm like getting such a bad vibe. And I'm like,
Mm.
so I told my ops manager, I'm like, pull the plug, like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I just feel like as women, like this is a whole other topic, but I feel like women, especially like women who are busy with families and this and that, like we're so in our head, right? We're so cerebral about, okay, who needs to be picked up? What are we making for dinner? Did the dog get walked? Like, did I send that email? Like we're all up in our head, like all the time. Like I know that's my life. Like I'm just constantly mentally checking the boxes on things, right?
Mhm.
But then it's like when I have to make a call about something or how to handle something, or like I've definitely had to train myself to like drop out of my head and like into my heart center self and like my belly and stuff and be like, okay, like knowing my head is doesn't always have all the answers, you know? It can be very like I look at it like, okay, my head thinking can be very like obviously very linear, very this, very that, but it's like which is good. It has a place, right? But
Mhm.
it's like, okay, when it comes time to like okay, like let's say like we, for example, a business in my agency, we had a really slow Q1, like really slow Q1. And instead of panicking and
Mhm.
moving into fear, I spent a lot of time thinking like, okay, like what's my next move here? Like
Mhm.
what's like and then just kind of being open to hearing that.
Yeah.
You know, like hearing what that would be. And I think like I like to say to women, like, I know women have so many have such a hard time trusting themselves.
Mm.
Like it's like I had to learn this so oh my God, I spent decades like constantly like reading books and podcasts and all these things. And I made this like resolution. I don't know, Christine, what you think about this, but I made this resolution like a year ago. I'm like not listening to podcasts, even though I have a podcast. I'm like not listening. I'm not like gonna look for advice outside myself anymore.
Mm.
Like I'm gonna trust that I have 30 years. Like I've been running my own business since I was like 15. So let's say 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like trust that I know.
Mhm.
And it was like this terrifying good
Yeah.
decision to realize like I can trust myself. I don't know if you run into that with women, but I'm like, that's a big one for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah.
Like,
I
so
I love that, and I absolutely wish that more women, would come to that realization and have that experience that you did. I suspect it's more challenging for women who are early on in the process because they don't have yet the validation of the experience of trusting themselves. And
yeah.
it does, in my opinion, go hand in hand with the business skills. I think that the
Mhm.
trust is first and is foremost and is important. And many times it can lead us to a place where we then go like, I don't know how to do this thing, right? I
Mhm.
trust that this is the direction I'm supposed to go, and I have no idea how to do the thing. So, I think sometimes that can use a little bit of parsing out as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
If I could just share a story from last
Yeah,
year.
please.
I was working with a business coach who I adore and is very successful and has yet to steer me wrong. And I really, really trust him. And he told me that I needed to focus on my LinkedIn outreach, my cold outreach.
Mhm.
And I hated cold outreach. I hated it. I
Yeah,
resisted for 6 weeks. Right? And
yeah.
every week he would go, how's your metrics? Have you converted? Like, they suck. No. I do more outreach. No, I don't want it. I want to do right. And I
Mhm.
didn't listen because I didn't want to do the thing. Yet,
Mhm.
yet underneath, I knew he was probably right. I just didn't want to listen. So, that was an example for me of like my intuition has guided me, to say yes to this person as my coach.
Yeah.
I trust them. They haven't steered me wrong. I even
Mhm.
have a hint underneath, if I'm being really honest with myself, that they're right. Just
Mhm.
everything in me is resisting against that, right? Because of the
Yeah.
stories I have and the personal experience that I've had and all that thing. So
Yeah.
it was a very real process of then for myself having to work through, like, what is it that I hate about this so much? And how
Exactly.
can I do it in a way that's in integrity? And I think that's actually the piece that a lot of people, miss or don't get the support they need around, is when you go to do the thing, like, the way that someone else does it, is not necessarily going to be in alignment for me. I've been on the receiving end, as I'm sure we all have, of many outreach strategies and cold DMs, and some of them are just, purely crap, and have lots of words for this, lots of judgment. And I knew that I didn't want to be that. So it took me a while to figure out, what does feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
How
Well,
do
that's how you and I met, right? Was like on LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Like,
and you know what? Getting on the other side of that and meeting people like you and all the amazing women that I've met through that process has validated to me that this is an approach that works very well. Of course, I get folks who write back sometimes, stay out of my inbox, don't pitch me. Like, cool, sorry, you won't hear from me again. And, the amount of women that I've met who are now friends, colleagues, who supported each other, who I have helped as clients, like the good definitely outweighs the bad.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's so much to what you said of like blindly taking advice. I mean, I wish I could tell this to more women, like, because like, I don't know, I'm not checking the notes, but Nicole, she's a LinkedIn trainer and she works with men and generally male agency owners.
Yeah.
And it's like, so one thing that she talks about all the time, and I love this too, is like, do it your way. Like, you don't have to like LinkedIn or whatever it is, right? Like, do you. And like, I find like there's no, as long like just going to marketing, for example, like marketing, like there's a million ways to market something. Like, and so I find like any advice, this is again so off base, but that's like, this is the way. This is the only way. It's like, no, it's not. Like, shut up. Like, it's not true.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not true. And so I think if you're a woman listening to this and you're like, been told by a book or some bro, like, this is how, no, it's not. And I think like that's where intuition comes in as well. Like, to your point, like, okay, yes, the outcome is out connecting on LinkedIn, meeting new people through LinkedIn. Okay, there's a million ways to do that.
Right.
Like, how do I want to do it? What would be fun to me? Like, I do like on average like 15 calls a week with people I don't know from LinkedIn. And it's so fun. The way I do it is so fun and so not spammy. And that's how you and I met. And like, and it's just like, you meet all these amazing people, but it's like, if I'd hired LinkedIn coaches and they did it in such a way that I wanted to throw up. So it's like, it can be scary, but can also be like, you can also craft it in a way that it makes sense and feels good to you. Like, to your point, right? Like, yes, okay, your coach told you LinkedIn, yes, and that felt scary. Okay, but then we also can take that moment to be like, okay, this is what needs to be done. How can I do this in a way that feels aligned to me, right? Like, that makes sense for my brand and my personality and all these different things. So last question, Christine. So why is confidence usually the last thing to arrive?
Yeah, I mean, we talked earlier and you said so well about how we're often kind of on the edge of our comfort zone and on the edge of what's familiar, and that growing a business isn't always going to feel good because we are learning new things. And, we're often spending time in territory of, I don't know. I don't know. And when we're in that space, when we're on our growth edge, when we're moving into an unfamiliar zone, most of us don't feel very confident. Yet many clients that I speak with, many women business owners that I speak with, are waiting to feel confident before they do the thing. I can't run sales calls, or I can't ask them onto a call because I don't feel confident about it. Well, how that confidence is actually grown is by doing the thing you're afraid to do. And it's only going to feel that scary the first time, because that's the hardest time. And then assuming it goes well, it's going to feel a little better the next time and a little bit the next time. And the more you flex that muscle and the better and better you get at that thing that was holding you back, the more your confidence grows. So confidence is typically the last thing to grow because it's a muscle that we need to flex to get better at a particular skill in business and to see that we can do this thing.
Yeah. There's an expression I love, and it's like, competence leads to confidence.
Yeah.
It's good, right? Because it's like, it's true. We think like, oh, okay, I always tell people, like, this is one of my things I love to say. It's like, We do not live in the Matrix where a chip goes in your head and all of a sudden
that'll be so nice. Make me a master in sales.
Exactly. I know jujitsu, and or like it doesn't work like that. Like if I would love to have that happen where the chip goes in and all of a sudden you are a sales master.
Right? That'd be so good. Give AI about 10 years. There'll be something.
Don't say that. But it's like, yeah, but it's like that's exactly it. It's like the whole idea that you are gonna suck at whatever you do that's new. Like recently, like when I finished all my surgeries and stuff this year, I enrolled in this dance class, and it was like this heels, like burlesque style dance class. And I was like, okay, my body's been like torn apart. I need to do something fun. Like that's like, in my body, right? And it was like this heels class. I'd never danced in heels. I'm 5'10". I don't even wear heels. Like, and I went to the class and the teacher was like, I don't know what you are, but this is like, you need to work on like, not stomping, like strutting, not stomping. Right. And I remember it was like so bad. And then, but like weeks go by. You keep getting better, I practiced at home. I practiced at the grocery store. Like I practiced all my things. And then you get better. And then we did a show and I didn't fall over and I was okay. Right. But it's like, that's how it goes. Like there's no like arriving, and you see people, if you see someone online or see someone doing something and they're really good, once upon a time they
for a really long time.
like they suck. There is no magic, and I think, I don't know about you, but I think a lot of us think like, oh, that person has like savant syndrome, like they just were born really good at that. And you're like, no, they weren't.
Very rare. I haven't come across it.
So bad. They just had the courage to go for it. And that's kind of one of the things I talk about. Like I have a special needs daughter and she has a lot of social anxiety around certain things. And one thing we talk about all the time is like courage. Like courage. Like, yeah, it's scary. It's scary to do these things, but like building that bravery, courage muscle, because in my opinion, like being an entrepreneur, knowing entrepreneurs, like that's really the name of the game. Like the courage to like step up and learn those skills, to look at your numbers, to hire a coach, to face your demons, to like get over yourself, to go to therapy, to like face all these things that feel so uncomfortable. But really, like the person who makes it and the person who doesn't, in my opinion, was like willing to take more of those uncomfortable steps, right? And there is no shortcut, and no one has it I mean, there might be some people who have it easier, but the most don't, right?
Something that's been really helpful for me, is the awareness that when I'm stuck on something, or if I find I have a story of like, well, I'm not good at this thing. I think, we all have that. I hear from a lot of clients, well, I can't do that because I'm not good at it. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of folks that I see will stay stuck or will try to solve the wrong problem for years. I've met people who've been at this for 10 years and they're still stuck on the same problem. And what is really inspiring to me, and a mentor told me this once, is that the thing we're stuck on, that we've maybe been stuck on for 10, 15, 20 years, probably only takes about 10 hours to get a good grasp on.
I know, right? We overthink it, totally overthink it.
But if we actually said, okay, I'm going to clear my calendar for 3 full days and I'm going to go all in, I'm going to take the course and I'm going to do the training, or I'm going to hire a coach who's an expert in this thing, and I'm going to tackle this thing. I'm going to have the courage to just learn it because I'm not good at it. So let's get good at it. It usually only takes about 10 hours to form enough of a basis to get over that hump. Yet we stay stuck on it for years.
I know, we just like spin out on it. Like I'm the queen of that. I'm the queen of spinning out on it. Yeah. It's just, it's so true. Like it's like cleaning your garage, you put it off for like a year.
Right. And then when you do it, it's like take half an hour.
And then you like do it. And then in like a day, you wrangle your family in to help you. And then in a day, you're like, oh my God, like what was,
I should have done that a year ago.
I was like, oh my God. But yeah, Christine, oh my God. So we're at the end of the call, but so how can people get a hold of you? Like if they loved what you said and they want to like hear more, get to know you, work with you, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I run monthly webinars. Best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. It's Christine Huckala, or you can search Huckala Horizons. I'll come up either way. Run a free monthly webinar. Folks can sign up for that. You can also book a free call with me, or you can head to my website, huckalahorizons.com.
Amazing. Oh my God. You're so good. And I love your content on LinkedIn too. Like follow her on LinkedIn, connect with her on LinkedIn. Like her content is so good. So awesome. Anything else to say? Otherwise, I'm just so grateful that you were here. Thank you so much for what you shared in your journey. So much richness.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Anyway, okay, friends, that was it. Let me just check the chat. Does anybody have any questions for Christine? Let me quickly finally check. Let's see.
Echoing. No, yes. People are lots of just echoing what was said, like, you know, a lot of resonance.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad. Awesome. Okay, well, Christine, I know you've got to go to your daughter's dance show, so have an amazing time at that.
Thank you.
It was so great to have you.
Thank you. It was great to be here.